Hello, hello, and welcome to another episode of Found in Interpretation Podcast. Once again, I'm one of your co-hosts, Alain Breton, and I'm here with Brian. Brian, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
And we have Doris with us. She has a lot of energy. How you doing, Doris?
I'm just fine with you lads, finally.
Well, all right, let's kick it. Okay, so let's take a look at Doris's journey. Yes, okay.
It's a huge bio, mate.
Yes, she's a seasoned linguist whose journey spans 5 active languages. Am I right?
Yes.
Yes. And from early beginnings in public speaking and academic translation to getting fired by Ferrari and Mercedes-Benz after a rough start with CAT tools, Doris' story is one of resilience, facing the challenges of AI disruption in 2023 and navigating life as a professional. And she emerged as a leading voice in remote public service interpreting. And actually, I'll be totally transparent here. Doris reached out on LinkedIn because she wanted to talk to us about something that I had never heard before, which is called premium location bias. What's premium location bias?
Okay, pretty much like that. Something that, well, actually, I didn't coin the term. I saw a post by North Macedonian girl. She works in marketing, and she wrote a post writing about premium location bias. That she switched her LinkedIn location from time to time to noble countries such as the US, the UK, Italy, and she saw lots of changes.
What? Don't forget Canada.
Yeah, Canada as well. Of course, the nice cousin. Yeah.
Awesome.
So she wrote that she changed her LinkedIn location from time to time, and she said that her leads and her views and her job offers, they changed drastically because of her location on LinkedIn. And then when people finally found out she was from North Macedonia, they would drop her job offers drastically because, oh, come on, you live in a low-income country. It's not even a country itself,
They would
that.
drop the offers or the amount for the offer?
The amount for the offer. Yes, the money they would pay for the same job, the same exact job. They had offered her like $5,000. They would offer her $1,000 because, you know, you're based in North Macedonia and stuff like that. And then I saw that and then I said, this is what's happening in the language industry with translators and interpreters, especially because nowadays it's all virtual, it's all remote jobs. Yes. So,
but the remote job in translation dates for much longer than interpretation. So was this premium location bias running for a long time?
Yeah, when I was a translator as well, and I worked remotely for like over 25 years, it also happened. When I said I lived in Brazil, I'm based in Brazil, they would just do this stupid math that, for instance, if it's a US agency that works in dollars, I think the dollar today is 6 reals, $1, if I'm not mistaken.
Because you're located in Brazil, right?
Yes. So they would do this ludicrous math. So since she's located in Brazil, and 1 real equals $6, I can offer her $1. You know, I can offer her like, instead of offering her like $200 for this piece of translation, I'll offer her $20 because our currency is much higher than hers. So she can live off breadcrumbs, you know. They don't think inflation. They don't think life quality. They don't think like they disregard your CV, your experience, your expertise, everything. Yeah. And this is also happening a lot now that I'm an interpreter, full-time interpreter. This is happening a lot with remote interpreters, you know, especially the ones who live in very, very low income countries, such as in Asian countries, African countries, Middle Eastern countries, that if you compare $1 to their currency, it's like 20,000.
Yeah, it's peanuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, so we just have to use a VPN when we're using LinkedIn?
Not actually. I do use a VPN for other purposes, but I do that from time to time. I change my location on LinkedIn from time to time to really test the premium location bias. And like people who reach me for jobs, for instance, now my location is in Trieste, Italia.
Beautiful.
So yeah, I lived there for a while. It's amazing. It's near Venice. It's really amazing. You should visit. So now it's in Trieste, Italy, and I received more job offers from Europe because I put my location as Trieste, Italy, and the job offers, they usually come at a very high rate of fee. Yes. But when I start the ongoing process with the agencies or the clients, and then I have to fill out those forms, with my address, etc., proof of address, and so on. They say, oh, but you're based in Brazil. You're not based in Italy. No, I just put on LinkedIn I'm based in Italy or in the UK or in France or Afghanistan, whatsoever, Oh, but then we have to retract the offer because since you live in Brazil, your country has a much lower income. So this first negotiation we started does not apply.
Regardless of the citizenship?
Regardless of the citizenship, it's not
Because
about
let's say I moved to-
citizenship.
But let's say I moved to Brazil and I'm in the French-Canadian market. I would not think that they should lower my rates. I mean, according to my location, right? It's about who you are, your expertise, and, the specific offer that you can give.
Yes, my passport does not define my value. Yes, my location does not define my worth. So it's basically that. But because you have a French-Canadian passport, even if you're based in Brazil or Afghanistan or wheresoever, they will praise your passport because you come from a premium location.
I see.
So,
But there's some kind of like algorithm in the background where like if you're say like they send an offer and it's like an international offer, then like if someone replies from the United States, it'll be a different rate than someone who replies from China or an African country or a South American country. Like they're gonna try to find the lowest rate, I guess. But then I guess the client still pays the same amount.
But they already have that as preset, with their recruiters, It's like this person lives in Argentina. So the top rate we can get is this. If they ask for more, no, But they will always try to get you lower. Yes, because that's the business. Yes, the shark. The sharks.
I remember Pros, P-R-O-Z.
Yeah, Pros.
they're still out there?
I remember when I first started doing translation interpretation, that was out, and it was always like, let's look at who the lowest bidder will be, and that's who gets the contract. And it was
lower than low.
And it was like 0.0004 cents per word or something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I got those. And then I replied, it was 0.001 per non-repeated word. And it was MTP.
Word. Oh my God.
Per non-repeated word, and it was MTP for social media, this stuff, And then I replied to the recruiter, I think you missed a zero, or you put one more zero there, you missed it.
No, you missed the dot.
The dot,
Exactly.
you missed the dot,
It's like,
and then he said, no, you're based in Brazil. This is just fine for you.
Wow.
And I was like, okay.
So from what I understand, when you change your VPN, the rate changes.
It's not only the VPN, because if you just change on your LinkedIn profile, your location, just that, I think some recruiters, some agencies, they're not smart enough to use this sort of advanced algorithm that will really check your real location. They'll just see, oh, this person is based there, because they will use the search filters.
I just checked. I'm Quebec City in Canada. I'm safe. I didn't notice. I just went to check right now my LinkedIn profile. I was like, I was curious to see. I was like, everyone who's watching, go check your location.
Yeah,
Change it
so
now
my VPN sets in Romania. I'm in Bucharest.
You just said it right now?
No, it's like, it's always on. So every day it changes, it goes to random locations. Yeah.
There's like a software that does that for you?
It's Proton VPN.
Yeah, I have Proton as well.
Oh, okay. I don't know what Proton is, so.
We're not sponsored by Proton, but it's one of the best.
Yeah. And I learned it from Kit Boga. You must know Kit Boga, right?
Does their like slogan, like, if you want to
He's the scammer of the scammers?
Proton.
Kit Boga.
Kit Boga, who's that?
Kit Boga, he's a YouTuber and he's the scammer of the scammers. So he scams those people who call the elderly generally to scam them on buying stuff. And then, I gave you more money back than I should. Buy me a gift card, and give me the money back. So he scams these scammers, these over the phone scammers.
Okay.
Wow.
And then they try to rip him off. He's amazing. Kit Boga. He's just amazing.
I just found him. Kit Boga. Okay. But so
back.
But let me ask you a question before we digress. Have you faced any serious intimidation or consequences for exposing this? Because you're exposing something that is quite actually serious and not many people realize.
Yes, I used to name names at first, I would get, because it was like this. I applied for the same position with the same agency using different locations, but with my same name, my same CV.
Yeah, I was going to ask, same name.
They're such retards, because I use my name, my real name, that is not my public name. Yeah. I use my real name, my real credentials, my real CV. I only changed my location on my CV. Just that, based in US, based in the UK, based in Germany. And then because they work with lots of recruiters. So I think when you spray away your CV to an agency, they go to different recruiters. And these recruiters, they do not talk to each other.
Yeah, I've noticed. Yeah.
So then I got contacted by 5 different recruiters.
Oh, wow.
From the same agency. It was a US agency. From the same agency. And then one offered me like X because I said I was based in Germany. The other one offered me 2X because I said I was based in the UK. The other offered me 3X. Am I doing am I doing math right? Because I've got this calculator. Sure. Yeah, you correct me because I'm...
No. So far, so good.
Yeah, you're doing great.
You didn't mention any number. You just mentioned the X's.
Yeah, but then 3X is like more than X and then 2X, right?
Yeah. I get the logic.
Okay, yeah. So, and then when I said I was based in the US, that is the most premium location there is Ferrari in the language industry. They offered me like 5X. And then I said, oh, cool. And then the last one, I said I was really based in Brazil. He offered me X -1.
So everyone set up a bank account in the U.S.
Yeah.
And we have to check on a further podcast which U.S. state you
Kit
can
Boga
open a
will
bank.
teach you all that. Go to Kit Boga. He teaches you all that.
And
you can create a fake location whatsoever.
Have you tried Asian countries yet?
No, they are huge no-no.
Oh,
Unfortunately, they are huge no-no. As for translators and interpreters, I'm sorry to say that it might sound prejudiced and racist and xenophobic whatsoever. But the thing is, from my experience, and I see a lot of posts from people getting scammed by African, Middle Eastern, and some African, some Middle Eastern, and some Asian agencies. They do not get paid or they lie on their location. They say they're based in the US or Europe because they know they have a bad name in the industry. And then people just go, and accept their offers. They give away their sensitive data and they are just cashing in. They're just stealing. This is like CV stealing. Like people will just steal your data and use your CV for tenders, So they will show a top tier interpreter or translator CV to the end client and say, look, this is the one we are hiring. They say, okay, they give the go. But then they will go there and they will hire a nobody and will pay them 1/10 of what they would pay this top tier interpreter or translator they showed to the end client.
Or like a machine, and then you pay no money. So our names.
Absolutely.
Because you know what? Now, come to think of it, I do get requests from companies in China or India that are like, oh, come work for us and stuff. And it says India and China. So I automatically delete. But I'm assuming there are some people who don't automatically delete.
Yeah, because they come usually to newbies. It happened to me when I was a newbie, because I came from academic translation. It's a completely different universe, another bubble. I had direct clients that happened to be my students, in translation. translation and in language speaking, in public speaking, and they were from the academia, like a master's and doctorate, PhDs, and I would work exclusively on academic translation. So I had direct clients. I didn't have this problem. So I said, I want to switch to commercial translation. I want to work with the world. And then I was a newbie and I started getting these offers, amazing offers, like, oh, we're going to pay you like, I don't know, $1 per word, stuff like that. Because in academic translation, the rates and fees are really high, especially if you have direct clients, you make your price, you make a rate. So I said, okay, this is good. And then I applied. But the thing is, there are red flags. So they usually come and they give you like, the on a silver plate, the golden offer, on a diamond offer, on a silver plate, and then you just go because you're just desperate. You're a newbie. You want to get experience. You want to get paid, like to make ends meet. And then you just reply immediately reply with your CV and your certifications and your diplomas, everything. They just ghost you because they just steal your credentials and they use for tenders.
Now, in the world of interpretation, can you give like a concrete example of that? Yeah,
it happens a lot as well. I get lots of offers from, usually it's like this, because since I'm really solid on LinkedIn for quite a while, I get offers directing my DMs, yes, but usually they come to my email and my email is not visible on LinkedIn, only for my first degree connections. I think it's the most, the most basic setting you can have to hide your personal data on LinkedIn. And then sometimes I get these emails, like, Doris, we would like to hire you for this position, like a conference interpreter or PSI, remote PSI. And then these are this is the description of the job, etc. And I got one that was supposed to be from the King's Hospital in London. It was an in-person position to be a PSI, medical and public service interpreter. And it was like my huge dream, like, come on, work in person in London for the King's Hospital. I work with them over the phone all the time, And this person, she was so smart that she even was able to fake a corporate King's Hospital email address.
Wow.
But then I talked to a friend of mine who actually is in the UK and already worked for King's Hospital. And he said, look, this offer is not on their official webpage. It's not on King's Hospital official webpage. So this is a scam. They steal your information and then they're using tenders to hire much cheaper interpreters or translators using your top tier CV. So the end client will never know they're hiring a nobody. They think they're hiring you, me, They never know. They never reach. They never care. They are the end client. That's why they hire intermediaries, they hire agencies because they don't want to have the trouble, And I was just like shocked, I said, I've been warning people about the red flags, like check the email address, like check the person, like go to the website, but it came on a silver plate, I was just blind.
It was too good to be true, basically.
And when it's too good to be true?
Yeah,
true enough.
Yeah, true enough. You're right.
Wow. This is like, it really opens my eyes to like how perverse this, like, especially like in the world of online interpretation.
And
like
with AI, you can do anything. I've seen, so these agencies, going back to that topic, these agencies I was exposing, I was naming names, they were faking their location. They were faking their phone numbers because nowadays you have a VoIP system. So you can buy a US number, you can buy a UK number, a Germany number. You can buy it from Brazil, from Africa, from Asia. So they fake their locations. They create fake images with AI for Google Maps to show they have this huge building in California, whatsoever. And then these newbies, they go check and they say, oh, looks legit. And then they apply, they send their data, or they even start working. It's like usually nowadays PSI, and I'm talking like not only these agencies, lots of US agencies, they are paying for PSIs, usually based in low income countries, from $4 to $7 an hour on a fixed shift with non-paid breaks. And then you have to stay online on demand for 9 to 12 hours, and you cannot reject a single call. If you reject a single call, there will be micromanagement coming on you.
So this is a kind of this is a kind of interpretation over the phone, right?
Yes, that's what in US call OPI.
Okay. So, and then just for our listeners here, because we all know about it, can you explain this? Can you explain the setup for the interpreter and what this is?
Okay, so basically OPI, or Medical and Public Service Interpreting, that is over the phone. In the UK, that is my main market. It's called PSI, that is just Public Service Interpreting, but it's remote. Yes, we work over the phone and video.
Okay.
And it works like an operator system, because you have to merge in calls, you have to dial out, dial in, remove people from the call, etc. So you must have the most basic tech-savvy skills, because you need to be an operator, you need to troubleshoot IT problems like connection or whatsoever that can happen in a platform,
Who needs interpretation here?
Okay, so the providers are usually public service officers. For instance, in the UK, I work directly with the UK government. So I work for the Home Office, I work for the Department of Work and Pensions, I work for the NHS, that is the public health system.
Yeah.
Yes. So I work with immigration, I work with airports, I work with prisons, I work with police stations. Do you know that TV show called Airport? There is a reality show. It's a reality show called Airport. So they shoot the reality in all airports all over the world.
Wow.
I've been there in Heathrow Airport edition. I was interpreting, and it was so funny. The story, it was like a girl from Amazonas, the north of Brazil. She was carrying what we call a mule. She was carrying 1 kilo of cocaine in her bowels. Yes, to traffic to the UK. But they stopped her in the immigration. Yeah, in her bowels. They swallow little bags, plastic bags with cocaine inside. They swallow like 50 of these bags.
I hope it doesn't
80,
rip.
100.
Well,
Yeah, sometimes it does, and it kills you instantly. So they swallow these little bags, little ball bags of plastic, and they swallow it with cocaine, and then they travel to this route, yes, for drug trafficking. And then she was stopped by the immigration right when she landed. When she got off the plane, she was stopped.
How did they know?
They have some sort of techniques, psychological techniques, like reading the body language, or also checking the passport, checking the route, oh, this is a suspicious route. She's coming from Amazonas. That is a border for cocaine and stuff with Central America, etc. So they have all these tactics. And then
there's a beautiful movie about that called Maria Full of Grace.
Yes, exactly that. Is exactly that what happened to her. It happens to lots of women, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And then they barred her at right when she landed.
Yeah.
And then she was taken to what they call the waiting room. There's the waiting room, because then they start a background check on the person, and then they stay on the waiting room. And then she was called, and then there's lots of steps. I come in interpreting for them, because she spoke Portuguese. She didn't speak English.
I'm sorry, but in person or remotely?
Over the phone.
Okay. All right.
Over the phone,
all right.
yeah.
Beforehand, do you know what you're getting yourself into?
No, it's a Kinder egg.
So it's a complete surprise.
It's a Kinder egg, and I I switch code from one language
Kinder
to
egg,
another.
I like it.
Yes, I code switch from one language to another, because one call comes in Portuguese, the next one in French, the next one in Italian, the next one in Spanish, and I have to code switch all the time.
So you get into that call, and do you get to see this girl from?
No.
Okay, so
It's all over the phone.
It's all over the
dark.
phone. We are blindfolded.
It's over the phone.
Yeah.
Explain the process. How do you realize what's going on?
So, because it's usually like that, they say, we are calling from the immigration airport. This is a Luton Airport immigration. Okay. We have a passenger here that is in the holding room, is in the holding area, and she's going to go through the immigration interview, because we suspect she's not here for the purposes she's mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
And then they call me in. I have to introduce myself, because it's all over the phone. So there is a protocol we follow, like, hello, this is the Portuguese interpreter speaking. My PIN number is 1234, and I'll be your Portuguese interpreter. And then they will tell me, oh, we are here with Maria whatsoever, and introduce yourself to her. Make sure she understands your dialect, because we have Brazilian Portuguese, European Portuguese, African Portuguese, and Asian Portuguese. Yeah, we have 4 variants of Portuguese, and sometimes they don't understand each other. For instance, I can't understand European Portuguese at all, or Asian Portuguese. I can't. I just do Brazilian and African. So I talked to her. She was Brazilian. So yeah, okay, she understands me. And then they started questioning the person. Like, why are you here? Oh, I'm here to visit. And usually they do not have a script, because they got very little money in Brazil to be the mule. Like, I remember that this 1 kilo she had in her bowels was equivalent to 2 billion pounds, and she was only paid like $100 carry it in her body, because she said, I have small children, I have debt to pay, I have to make ends meet. So the money she was gonna get would be good for like 3 months in Brazil for her, And then, why are you here? Oh, I'm here to visit. What monuments do you want to visit? Oh, that big wheel, that castle with a garden, and that huge clock with guards. And they're like, okay, who paid for your ticket? Oh, it was a friend. A friend from where? A friend from here. Where did you meet? Oh, we met online. Is it a friend? Real friend? Oh, no, actually, we have a thing, What's your friend's name? I don't know.
Oh, no.
So after the 5th question, everything crumbles.
Yes.
No, actually at the first already,
Oops.
Usually when the suspect is a real actor, they go up to 4 interviews, and I take all of them, because they call me for the first and they get my PIN number, and they call me back because they say, Doris, you have been the first, so you go on. So there was this lad from, I don't know, from some Latin American country, and he was so smart. And because the thing is, with these interviews, what happens? They ask you the exact same questions, but in different ways, to see if they catch you on the lie, So it's really nerve-wracking. And I also had to study this, not body language techniques, because I don't see them, but like the tone, the pauses, the way they breathe in and breathe out, the rhythm of their hearts, it's all a tell. It's all tells.
But everybody feels nervous in those situations. Even I, that have nothing to fear, maybe my heart rate could go up.
But this guy, he was not nervous at all. He was a real actor. And he was there. He was not sweating. He was not stuttering. And he was smiling. And he was like even flirting with this interpreter, in Spanish. And I have to go verbatim because it goes to their records in English. Yes. I had to go, you were so cool. You're Brazilian. You must be so hot. And then the immigration officer was like, what was that? And I said, sir, I'm just interpreting the words verbatim. And he was, really? This is so inappropriate. Oh, é mesmo? Isso é tão inapropriado? Like going back and forth, because I have to convey the tone as well, So it was already his 4th interview, and I was in doubt, because usually I take about 30 of these calls a day from people from all over the world.
Right?
It's all recorded from their end, not mine. From their end, it's all recorded.
Of course.
They video record the interview, they audio record, but from my end, nothing is recorded because it's all over the phone. So we were already in the 4th interview, and before we got into the interview, before they called this lad in, they said, Doris, you have no idea. Is that lad, the champion of the champions. He's here for the 4th interview. He's like never seen before. I said, really, mate, let's go. Let's see if this guy is really lying or he's innocent, And then in the middle of the call, I started getting biased. And when you are a medical and public service interpreter, humanitarian interpreter whatsoever, the first thing is 101, you cannot be biased. You can never be biased, because I always say, we are the scalpel on the hands of a surgeon. We are the gavel on the hands of a judge. So if I mistake bladder for gallbladder, I kill a person.
Yeah.
Yes. If I am biased in my tone, I may send an innocent to prison or even back to his war zone country. He's asking asylum. He's claiming for asylum, So I started.
You have to be sort of an actress.
Yes. You have to be really like, and you have to like put everything away and out of you, And then I started getting biased because it was already the 4th interview, and he was so like sleek and even mischievous, and like sarcastic. And I started getting biased, and my tone, I felt it in my tone. I was being biased in my tone when he was replying to the questions.
Do you think he was manipulating you?
I think he was trying to manipulate everybody.
Everyone, yeah.
Everybody in the room. And then I paid attention to my voice, and I said, I'm being biased. And then I said, this is the interpreter speaking, permission to intervene. I need to excuse myself from this call right now because I'm feeling biased. And he said, oh, Doris, last. Come on. You're here. You're the best. No, come on. This is the fourth one to be the last one. You can't give up right now. Like, come on, just 5 more minutes. I said, sorry, sir. I'm feeling biased and I can no longer be here because I may be sending an innocent to prison or whatsoever. And they said, no, ask him if he thinks you're being biased. And then I said, oh, Jesus, Lord. And then I asked him, Señor, ¿piensas que estoy con algo contra el Señor en esta llamada, que mi tono y todo? Absolutamente no, estás maravillosa, es la mejor intérprete que he tenido en toda mi vida. Dios, que me cago en el mundo, pensado. Yes, I thought to myself. So this is Spanish people will know I said a cursing word. So
That's okay.
And then I went back to the office and he said, no, he says, I'm the best interpreter. You're the best interpreter I've ever had. You're not being biased against me, not at all. And then I asked the officer, sir, do you feel from your capacities and your knowledge that I'm being biased against or for anybody in this room? No, not at all. Please move on. But I was not comfortable with myself. I said, I'm feeling biased and that's just enough. It's like code of ethics.
But at that time, you're more than just an interpreter. You are an active player in this situation.
Yes, we are PSIs, yes, medical and public service interpreters. We are interpreters, we are mediators, we are advocates, yes. We are the ruler of the situation, like imagine a parents, tutors and advisors meeting. You have 20 people in the room. Like you have 3 tutors, directors, like principals from the school, vice principals, you have psychologists, you have psychiatrists, you have the parents and you have the children, because this usually happens when the children have some mental issues, psychiatric issues, they're not behaving or they hit someone or they cut off someone's head, something like that. So they need to summon this huge, inquisition on the children, So I'm on the phone. Sometimes one parent, they are divorced. One parent is on a Zoom video from one laptop. The mother is from another laptop. And there are all the people from the school all together in the same room with these 2 laptops and me on the loudspeaker on a bloody old cell phone. So I need to I need to become a radio set because I need to tune in and out background noise and like the ups and downs of the volume, people talk because they're talking from different settings, and then me mediating a 20 plus people alone. So I am the interpreter, the mediator, the advocate. Sometimes we advocate very little. It's really dangerous.
And you're not 2 interpreters. You're alone. So you don't take turns. In conference interpretation, we take some rest.
5 hours straight. So there's a moment.
Impossible.
There's a moment it's not, we're superheroes. PSIs, we're superheroes. You are heroes. We are heroes as conference interpreters because I am one as well. And then there's a moment because things start getting heated up and they started quarreling. There was this one that the father, he was on a Zoom screen from his setting and he spoke Spanish. The mother spoke Portuguese. The child was bilingual and they started quarreling amongst each other in Spanish, Portuguese, and the child replying back in Spanish and Portuguese, and all the tutors and advisors and stuff, they were like, what are they saying? We don't speak Spanish. We don't speak Portuguese. And then it was a huge mess. And then everybody speaking on top of each other. What is the most efficient method? You go silent. Because then they start going silent one by one, and then they start going like, where's the interpreter? Is she gone? Where's the interpreter? Because without interpreter, nothing happens.
And then you can go back to saying like, listen,
and then I go back
one at a time and like,
this is the interpreter speaking. Permission to mediate. When one person speaks, the other has to shut up. you know?
Yes.
And then they go like, and then what really makes me go nuts is not the setting itself, you know, the scenario, like the subject, is when people do not know how to use this interpreter. They start speaking on top of each other, on top of the interpreter, no turn-taking sensitivity, you know, or they like machine gun you with words, you know. It's like, I'm not a machine, sir. I'm taking notes, and I have, because of HIPAA and because of all the compliance and regulations on privacy and data protection, you cannot take digital notes. You must only have handwritten notes. I can take digital notes, but not on a cloud-based app, you know, like I can use Word.doc, but not cloud-based, you know, because otherwise all the sensitive data will be sprayed away all over the internet. Yeah. So I take handwritten notes, and then it's like taking notes, lots of people talking. Then I say, sir, this is the interpreter speaking. Permission to intervene. I need you to slow down. I need you to speak in chunks, you know, because they monologue away, you know, because PSI is really difficult because it's a lot of all modes together. So it's long consecutive, short consecutive, dialogue consecutive, simusecutive, and simultaneous when things get hot. You know, you go from
simusecutive. It's like a combination of simultaneous and consecutive.
Exactly. It's a technique.
How does that work?
Well, it works this way. You start on consecutive, and then people start to speed up their speech, and then you go into simultaneous, and then you go back to consecutive, because you all go, the thermometer is how they're feeling, is their moods, you know. So if they're calm, they're usually distraught, because think, you're calling the home office, you know, because there was a problem with your benefit. That is the universal credit. Yes. Oh, I haven't received my benefit this month, and I have already called you 20 times, and nobody solves my problem. They are usually distraught and nervous. And hey, Jess, it's like 15-minute appointments. So sometimes I take 15 people, 15 minutes each with a single doctor from the NHS.
Wow.
You know, so they are always distraught. They are always nervous. They are always like really, really like, you know, so I need to be the one. And sometimes you need to use tough love, as I did right now, you know, like, this is the interpreter speaking, permission to intervene. I am the ruler here. Without the interpreter, there is no communication. So you please respect this interpreter. You please take turns when you speak, you know. Go on. You would like to say something?
I mean, but there's two questions that pop in my mind. Yeah? Number one, I hope this one, it's not with the localization bias. You get well paid for this one.
I do. Because, as I was telling before, I worked on LinkedIn for about 7 months before I started to change lanes. Because I was a diplomatic interpreter, on-site diplomatic interpreter from 2008 to 2013. But it was not really my thing, you know, like, I'm diplomatic.
You sure?
Sometimes I am, but, you know, being like 3 times a week, going to the capital, because I live in the state, is like 200 kilometers away from São Paulo capital. So I had to stay there for I had to go every week, stay there 4 days a week. And then like lot of meetings with presidents, with high tier commands and governors, and I had to dress up, you know, and wear makeup. And then I had to be there like high heels and like impeccable, like a Barbie in a box, you know, like, you know. And sometimes they're saying rubbish, you know. They're saying, you know that. You know what I'm talking about. They're saying rubbish. Yeah. I don't have the guts for that. So I left it and I went back to tutoring languages and public speaking and academic translation. Then I said, I'm done with teaching. I'm done with academic translation. I want to go to commercial translation only. And then that was when ChatGPT came. It was from 2022 to 2023 started, and there was a nobody in commercial translation. And I didn't know I was supposed to use the bloody cat tools, because when I started in translation, mates, we are talking 1997. My first abstract was on paper with a beak, you know, a blue and red beak to separate the topics and stuff.
Pen and paper as well.
So, and then all my clients, they were direct clients, and they sent me the documents on Word.doc. I would translate and localize in Word.doc, would send it to my revisor, and they would send me back in Word.doc. I would send the papers, the academic papers, back to my clients on Word.doc. They would put on a PDF and send to the journals. So it was really easy. I never even knew what a CAT tool was until 2022. And then they said, you need to use CAT tools because for commercial translation, if you want to be a pro, blah, 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 you need to use CAT tools. And then I said, okay, I'll try. And then I got hired by Ferrari and Mercedes-Benz and Fiat all together throughout an agency, but they were the end client. So I had to translate manuals, car manuals and agricultural machine manuals from English into Italian and Brazilian Portuguese and vice versa altogether.
Yeah, I just have a quick question about going back to the geolocation.
Yeah. Premium location bias.
Yeah. Do you have any tips for people who are starting in the industry and may fall into this trap? Because I would assume that someone who is just beginning, wants to make some money and a name for themselves, like they may fall into this trap. So do you have any tips for people who would be at risk of going through what you did?
Yeah, I always post on LinkedIn, try to educate them. Like, I'm an interpreter, I'm a PSI advocate. Yes, I try to educate them and I show the red flags, and I always tell them, look, if you're a beginner, because I was once a beginner as well. My first job offer before this British agency, it was not really for interpreting, but it was for customer service with ACA Obamacare,
Oh, wow. Okay.
It was for customer service, 100% in English, and I got paid $4 an hour for a 12-hour shift with 1 30-minute no paid break for lunch. And it was from Monday to Saturday, 12 hours on the go. But then I stayed there only for 15 days because, I'm insurgent, I'm insubordinate, and I was calling my team like, let's call the union.
One last question before we go. When I heard, for me, it's a complete discovery what you did with the PSI. Do you think that the elephant in the room, which is basically AI, do you think that you're feared of getting replaced by it, or this is way too chaotic and the machine will never be able to keep up?
Exactly that. And also, so far, it's permanently forbidden to use AI in medical and public service settings because it's very sensitive matters. We are dealing with the life and death of people 24/7. As I told you, if the AI mistakes, because there is the term gallstone. Yes, gallstone can be produced by the bladder or the gallbladder. So you need to specify with the doctor and the patient, is this gallstone coming from the bladder or the gallbladder? But the AI will translate gallstones just like bladder or kidney stone.
Right. There's such a serious consequences.
So, if the AI mistakes bladder with kidney and gallbladder and the gallstone saying, no, this stone is not coming from the gallbladder, it's coming from the kidney, and the person goes to surgery.
We watch the news sometimes and they operated, they're on the wrong leg or something.
AI does that. AI operates the wrong legs all the time.
I hear that passing a kidney stone as a man is like the equivalent of giving childbirth, but I don't know. I hope I will never get to experience that.
Don't.
I had my gallbladder removed because
because of AI.
AI removed the wrong part on that.
It was way before that. All right. Doris, thank you so much for coming to the podcast. You brought a lot of energy.
Thank you.
Today, it was really awesome. We will invite you again. I'm sure that there are many, many, many more stories, but the lesson to remember is beware of scammers out there.
Yes,
and
definitely.
That's a very important thing to remember. And change your LinkedIn localization
settings. Make sure you're on the right one.
Test agencies, yes.
Well, absolutely. Or maybe you don't want to work for those people anyway, but
don't set it up when you're on vacation in maybe underdeveloped countries.
In the Bahamas.
Yeah. All right, guys. Brian, thank you very much. Doris, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment, and all of that. And we'll meet each other again for another episode of Found in Interpretation Podcast. Thank you very much. Good day. Good luck.
You too, guys. Great weekend ahead. Bye-bye.